it's Maddie and welcome to another reading vlog. Recently, there has been so many amazing new releases that have just come out, and I honestly don't want to wait another second to start reading some of them. So here's what we have on deck for the week. So I decided to pick a few new release romances because that's what I'm vibing with right now. And we have three stunning choices. The first one being Not in Love by Ali Hazelwood. I am absolutely obsessed with this cover. I think it's just so adorable and it's one of my favorites. I think it's the color scheme because it's just doing something for my brain. It is so adorable and I just love the little touches on the back and on the spine. I think it's so cute. And then the second choice is A Novel Love Story by Ashley Poston. I believe this is the latest release out of the three. Actually, I know it is. And this one is, I think, my favorite out of the three. And I think it's just because of the color scheme. It's so vibrant and gorgeous. And it really draws me in. And I just think it's so adorable. And yes, I'm going to take off the sticker ASAP, I promise. And then we have A Funny Story by Emily Henry. And I'm so excited for this. It's actually one of my book club books for my book club with my friend Brooklyn. It's called Accidentally Yours, a book club. And I'm so excited to read this and discuss this with her. So these are my three choices. And I can't get over how precious and adorable these look next to each other. I'm obsessed with this stack. I think it's adorable. And I of course had to dress to match the stack as well because what else would you do? So we have my adorable purple and pink highlighter on deck. We have my tabs ready to go. And then also I have these adorable bookmarks that I have to show you before I get into it. They are so perfect. I'm gonna have the hardest time deciding which one I want to use. Oh, this one's upside down. It says just one more chapter. I'm literally obsessed with all of these and half of them are upside down. So let me just turn it around so you can see them. This one's a replacement one because I accidentally bent my other one. I of course had to replace it because her designs are everything. I will collect everything she makes if I can because it's just all so stunning and I can't get over it. And she does sticker sheets and washi tape and little notebooks, mugs. I think she even has some shirts. I'd have to double check, but I will definitely link her shop down below. And this is from a different shop also, and these are so stunning in person. They kind of have like these star sparkly things on it that you can't really see on camera, but it's so gorgeous. Yeah, like I said, I'm gonna have the hardest time figuring out which one I'm gonna use with which book. And then I also have these adorable mugs that I actually saw in Target earlier today and they had to come home with me. Like, how precious are these? I can't even decide which one I want to use first, but they will both be used in the next couple days because I'm obsessed. So we have our perfect summer vibe going on. Now for the hardest part, deciding which book that I want to pick up first. Honestly, I'm not gonna lie, I'm leaning towards A Novel Love Story by Ashley Poston. I'm just so obsessed with this cover, and honestly the synopsis sounds so adorable and precious. So essentially this girl named Eileen, but it's Elsie for short, she loves to get lost in a good book and a good happily ever after, and she actually does just that. She ends up in her favorite book's actual world, and she feels like she's there to help the author finish the story because she got stuck in the last book that her author didn't finish. And she ends up meeting this grumpy guy who owns a bookshop, and apparently this bookseller does not want her finishing the story, and she feels like her happily ever after might be entwined with this story. I think this story is going to be so whimsical and gorgeous, and I just feel like the atmosphere is going to be so stunning. So I cannot wait to dive into it. It is already 9 p.m. so I'm not sure how much progress I'm gonna make, but I do have my Alani here to try to keep me up, so I'm gonna try to stay up as late as I can and make a dent in this book. And I'm so excited, honestly, to sit right there and drink my Alani, read my book, and maybe make a cup of tea later or something in these stunning cups. And yeah, so that's my plans for the evening. I could honestly not be more excited for my plans for tonight, so I'm going to dive into my spot and get as cozy as I can, and I will definitely update you when I've made some progress in A Novel Love Story. Encaged, unsafe, lights I'm fading, angels. I'm so close to finishing a novel love story. I'm actually on page 281 in the middle of chapter 28, I believe. And I think the thing that I'm loving the most is the atmosphere and the prose in this book. Like, I have to read you this quote on page 4. It is just so stunning. It says, "In the back corner was a reading space with a fireplace and chairs so cozy you could sink into them for hours while you read. The rafters were filled with glass chimes that, when the sunlight came in through the top windows, would send dapples of color flooding across the stacks of books, painting them in rainbows." And I can just visualize times where I've felt that same feeling and just seen the same thing, like times I've gone to the library and just been surrounded by books and the sun is hitting a certain way and it's just so gorgeous. And I feel like that quote just like really makes me feel what the author is trying to embody, if that makes any sense. So I'm really loving her prose, and I just think they're so stunning. And there's so many moments in this book where I'm like, I felt that. I know exactly what you're talking about. That is such a perfect way to describe experiences that I've had. So I just really enjoy that about this book. I think also the little town that the main character Elsie is in is just so cozy. The way the author describes the bookstore and just all the quirky characters and just everything about it, it almost feels like a cozy mystery. I just thought about this, but I was like, you know what this reminds me of? Like a little cozy mystery town. And I just think it brings the most cozy reading vibes. I think this would be such a perfect book to read in the fall or the winter time. And then another thing that I'm really loving is the main character talks about loving Inkheart as a child, and that was like her favorite book. And honestly, same. I read that series so many times. It is such a stunning book, and I feel like the author took inspiration from that book. But I thought it was so cozy to hear about the main character reading that book so many times that just like the pages were falling out of the book. And her mom was a librarian, so she had to bind the book together so Elsie could continue to read it over and over again. And it brought me back to times of my childhood and reading Inkheart for the first time, and it just was such a nice touch for me personally because I can connect to that being one of my favorite childhood books also. But the reason why I'm thinking the author took inspiration from Inkheart is because in Inkheart, the dad is a bookbinder. He's really well known for his craft, and his daughter ends up going into one of the stories and goes on all these adventures and everything. So there's definitely some similarities to like the basis of the storyline. And obviously these are two different stories. This one's magical realism with more of a romantic touch, and Inkheart is definitely more of a fantasy. So there's definitely a lot of differences, but I feel like the core inspiration might have come from Inkheart. And I also just really love stories where characters go into books or have connections with characters that are in books. Like another one of my favorite books is On the Same Page, and that is by Jodi Picoult and her daughter. And in that story, the main character, like every time she opens the book, she can talk to another character in the book, and they obviously have a romantic connection, and they get to close the book and then go back to their separate lives, and you get to see them in their separate worlds, but then you also get to see their worlds kind of almost come together when she opens the book, which I think is just such a cool concept. Sorry, the sunlight is definitely shifting and messing with the lighting. Anyways, I am really enjoying it for those aspects. The only thing is I do feel a little distant from both of the characters, but especially Ander, because you don't get his perspective and you're only seeing him through Elsie's eyes, which can be well done, but I personally have learned over time that I really prefer a dual perspective because I feel like you get to know the other main characters so much better, getting to see through their eyes, be in their head, and then just watch them connect together. You get to see both sides of the story, and I just feel like we're missing something. Like, even though I really do like what I do know about him, I feel like I don't know enough because I'm not really experiencing him, if that makes any sense. So that's the main thing that I feel like is a little bit missing for me, but I still am really enjoying this book, and just seeing the storybook world, I think it's so interesting to learn about the town and, like I said, kind of figure out where this is going and how it's all going to connect. I'm very excited to find that out. Once I finish a novel love story, I think I'm going to pick up Funny Story next. I actually already did start a little bit of it last night. I'm on page, oh wow, okay, I'm a lot farther than I thought. I was really enjoying this, and I don't think I realized how fast I was flying through this, but I'm on page 86. I'll give you a rundown of this a little later. I'm actually about to head to work, so I gotta get going. And also we have a fun insurance inspection in our apartment. So we got a lot going on this morning, but I just wanted to quickly update you before I finish a novel love story, because I'm definitely going to be finishing this a little bit later today. I'm going to bring it with me, and then probably this evening I'll pick up a funny story. So that's the plans for today. I'll check back in with you when I finish a novel love story. I just finished Funny Story. Absolutely 5 stars. Like, no questions asked, no notes, pure perfection, 5 stars. I am obsessed with this, and this completely took me off guard. I think that this may be one of my favorite Emily Henry books, but write it in pencil, not in pen, because I do have to reread Beach Read. But this might have even topped it, or at least it's equivalent to it, because this was just so beautiful. I loved Miles. He was so kind and thoughtful, and I really loved watching his and Daphne's relationship grow and blossom, and watch them fall in love and go through this mutual grief together, not just with their past relationship, but also a lot of their family stuff. I felt like they were able to work through so many things from their past together, because they gave each other room to truly be themselves and to kind of let their guards down for the first time fully. And it was just such a beautiful relationship to watch. But it didn't just like happen. It was a slow progression of letting things out slowly and working through everything that they had been through, not just recently, but also in their childhoods, and a lot of the family stuff that they were carrying with them. And I feel like because they just worked so well together, and because they were such good friends to each other, there was really a space to be able to work through all of those things. I was just completely lost in reading. I absolutely have been binging this. I had just gotten a little bit of the way through, and then honestly in the last couple sittings I've just binged the rest of this because I could not put it down. It was just that good, and this took me by surprise. I knew I was gonna love it, but I didn't know I was gonna love it as much as I did. And I also just thought it was so beautiful to read about Daphne's love for reading and being part of the library, where that came from, and also her just lighting up the second that she reads to the kids. And honestly, seeing Miles light up about her lighting up was just so gorgeous. I'm definitely gonna have to like display this somewhere because I cannot wait to reread this, to go back and annotate it. I'm so mad at myself for not annotating it, but I'm kind of glad I did. I was just so invested. I just wanted to read it and I didn't want to stop for even a second to annotate anything. So I feel like going back, rereading this and taking even more time and just like basking in my favorite moments again will just be such a joy. So I'm very excited for that. And then I also did end up finishing a novel love story, and I really enjoyed this one as well. I loved the atmosphere. The author had just such beautiful prose throughout the book. I really feel like this was a love letter to readers because it just had so many cozy descriptions of the bookstore, of the town, just everything that made you just want to sit in a cozy chair, listen to the rainfall, grab a warm cup of tea or coffee, and just cuddle up and just bask in reading. And while I was reading, it was making me want to read even more and just get as cozy as possible. So that's what I loved about this book. I loved hearing about all the quirky characters, the town. I love the concept of the book, and I really did enjoy the ending as well. There was this one scene that was this super romantic scene, and I'm not going to go into it, but it's actually something that I had in my own life, a similar situation happen, and so it really brought me back to that moment, which was so nostalgic and honestly so beautiful to kind of relive that moment through reading this book. And I really loved the way that it all wrapped up. The only thing I'll say is I still felt like I didn't fully get to know both of the characters to the depth that I would have liked to know them. I feel like they were kind of kept a little bit at a distance, but regardless, I still did really enjoy this book. And I do think it's very beautifully written, and it makes me want to pick up her other two books, which I've been wanting to pick up for a while, so it's making me want to prioritize it even more, especially everything I've heard about the 7-Year Slip. Oh, I just cannot wait to read that one. The first two books are completed, and I think I'm going to end the video with reading Not in Love by Ali Hazelwood. I'm actually already on page 128. And it's reading so quickly, so I'm hoping that I can finish most of it tonight, if not all of it. I'm using this adorable cherry bookmark, which I feel like fits the vibes perfectly. So I'm going to keep reading this, and I'll share my thoughts on Not in Love a little bit later. Hopefully, like I said, I can get through most of this, if not finish it off tomorrow and then end out the video. So I'm going to read a little bit more, and then I'll share my thoughts with you a little later. So I had to bring out my little pumpkin candle and my adorable ghosty blanket because it is literally so smoky and gloomy outside. It literally looks like a fall day. It almost smells like a fall day if you can smell it through all the smoke. But I had to bring this out because it is the first day that the heat wave has broken and it's not 1,000,001 degrees outside. So I'm like, you know what? I'm gonna take advantage and pretend like it's a cozy fall day and just enjoy the gloominess and try to like romanticize and make it happy, even though it's probably torching my lungs and absolutely terrible for my health. I haven't been outside, but it just looked outside the window and I was like, you literally can't see anything. It's completely gray from the smoke. So I just thought I'd romanticize it and make it feel all cozy and just stare out the window like it's a gorgeous fall day. finishing Not in Love by Ali Hazelwood a couple hours ago, and what I appreciate about all of her books is A, they are so bingeable and so fast to read, but another thing that I really appreciate personally in all of her STEMness books is the conversations she has surrounding grad school. I know she primarily focuses on women in STEM, but I feel like it also just touches on issues that are in grad school in general, and I feel like she really does a good job of shedding light on the strengths and the beauty of the experience, but also just so many of the problems as well. And so I really appreciate that in her books, and I think it's such a valuable conversation to have and to shed light on. I also just had a lot of fun with this book because, okay, so Rue and Eli end up meeting in a bar the night before through a dating app, and then the next morning Rue walks into her company called Klein, and Klein is being taken over by this company called Harkness, and Eli works for that company and Rue works for Klein. So right from the start, there is tension between the two, but Eli is so obsessed with Rue from the very beginning, from that night in the bar, and he is just absolutely persistent, and he has it bad for Rue, and so he's really trying to spend any single moment that he can with her. And what I thought was really beautiful about their relationship is from the beginning they would share little stories of experiences that they have of like their darkest moments or things that they wouldn't share with anybody else. And so that kind of just like brought them together in a whole new way, even though Rue especially is very emotionally unavailable, but I feel like Eli just brings out so much more from her. And I will say their relationship does start a little bit more physical, but I still feel like there's so many moments in which they do connect on a deeper level. And this is said to be one of her spicier books. I would agree, but I feel like the spicy scenes were still really well done, and there was still so much story to this. There's just a lot going on because you're uncovering the mystery of like, why is Harkness coming in trying to take over Klein? What secret is Klein hiding? And then you just get to follow all these friendships and the way the companies kind of connect. And so the whole time you're really trying to uncover what is even happening. And then, like I said, there's just so much tension between Rue and Eli because of that. But at the end of the day, they just find such a safe space in each other. But I feel like they really do bring out the best in each other. I feel like all of these books this week were such a win. I had a really amazing time reading all these new releases, and I feel like this was really fun. I'll have to do it again because I feel like sometimes I'll just like put off new releases for a little bit, and it was kind of nice to read them really close to when they all came out, and it really kept the excitement really high. Let me know if you've read any of these new releases already, or if you're planning to pick any of these up. I would definitely love to know your thoughts, and also any new releases that you might be looking forward to reading for the rest of the year. Thank you for watching. Take care, and I hope to see you in the next one.